Welcome back, everyone! Rediscovering the vast world of books is definitely a journey, and the best literary adventures have to start somewhere, and I feel like mine has started with the humble admission that I am not well read. Let's explore the true meaning of being well read. Is it about how many books we read, or the depth of our engagement with them? How does the trendiness of reading, like the hotgirlification of literature, affect our view of books? Join me as we unravel these questions and address the doubt that can arise when sharing our opinions on books, especially when we feel we haven't read enough. Let me start by saying I've always loved to read, and it's always been such a personal endeavor for me. When I think about going to school or just reading at home and not really sharing my opinions with anybody, it was just an enjoyable experience for me. It didn't have to be quantified. I'd never wrote down, oh, this is what I read this year, or this, and this. I just read. Only recently now that I've seen Book Talk and BookTube, have I started keeping track of what I was reading. That's where this comparison comes into, this I am not well read sort of phrase. I feel like the more books you read, the more value your opinion has. It's obviously not true that the amount of books you read is what makes you well read. It has to do with the diversification of the books that you're reading. This comparison definitely comes from an internalized feeling of wanting to be the better of something or someone.
Think you're better than me?
As soon as tallies or keeping track or anything comes into the mix, that's when that sort of feeling happens. Because when I see, oh man, this person has read 100 books this year, does that make this person better than me that they read 100 books? No. Tell the brain that. Tell my brain that. And an illustration I thought of is, say you have two friends and one has been to every wing place in your town. The other one has only been to about 2 or 3. Whose recommendation holds more weight to you? I'll pause. Exactly. I feel like it can be applied to a lesser extent with books, because it doesn't matter how many books you've read, it just matters how much you love what you're reading. It's definitely okay to be at different stages along the way and to kind of carve your own path into this world of reading and sharing your opinions online. I just feel like when I started BookTube and I started Book Talk, I want my opinion to hold weight, and that's the point of the illustration, is I want my opinion to be valued. I felt as though I needed to have a certain amount of books under my belt for my recommendations to hit home and to be trusted. People have to see a roster of books or a history of books that they deem to be better. There's definitely an elitism to reading now. I think there always has been. There's an elitism to all kind of subjective content. I see people who've read 100 books a year or on their Goodreads, they've read hundreds of books in the past, and I don't have that sort of list because I just started quantifying the amount of books I've read. The opinion doesn't hold as much weight. It's definitely an internalized thing. It's not true, because when I post my TikToks or my BookTube, nobody's saying, girl, you've only read 3 books. How can you say this one is 4 stars? How can you say this one is bad when you have nothing to compare it to? You have no basis for what's a good book and what isn't. Once again, it doesn't matter how much you read. When you want to share your opinion, all you have to do is just talk about that book. Just talk about that book, and that's it. There's no need to have to read 500 books before you can talk about what you've loved in a book or what you learned, why you didn't like a book. You could just talk about those things without that fear. A trend I've noticed is the hotgirlification of reading. The idea that reading should be trendy and glamorous can sometimes overshadow the true essence of literature. Reading isn't just a fashion statement or a status symbol. It's about connecting with stories. Being well read is setting personal goals for yourself, maybe setting a goal to read different genres. So I think reframing what I view as well read is what will eventually make me well read. Taking away the elitism from reading and taking away my own fears, and just placing back the joy I had as reading as a child, just literally doing it and sharing your opinion on it. There doesn't have to be a paywall. What is the book equivalent of a paywall? There doesn't have to be a read wall. Overcoming that pressure is definitely a precursor to becoming well read. Leaving that fear behind is what will allow you the opportunity to read the things that you want to read and not be stuck in only the literary fiction or self-help, because you don't have to be there to be well read. Learning lessons from books and enjoying them, it comes from all genres. I don't like when people say fiction cannot teach you lessons, because that is literally how children's books are made. It's literally fiction that teaches you lessons and you learn from them. So it's the same with fiction for young adults and adults. There's always going to be a theme to learn from and to expound upon, and that is the true nature of being well read, is enjoying or learning or sharing something about the book you've read, literally just being there with the book. I feel like it also kind of diminishes the work of an author when you do not celebrate the wins of every book. You don't highlight the joy you felt with every book if you don't give yourself the permission. Even if you've read 3 books in a year and you've learned something from those things, like, what do you mean you're not well read? You've read 3 books. Just read your book, girl. You could just read your books. In conclusion, being well read is not about the quantity of books that you read, but the quality of the reading experience that you had and the lessons that you learned along the way. It's definitely a personal journey that evolves over time and is shaped by individual preferences and goals. What I'm learning is that I just have to embrace the journey, celebrate each book I read, no matter how few or many. It's a testament to my love for literature, the continued pursuit of knowledge and understanding. So keep reading. And keep reading in all forms, whether classics or latest bestsellers. What matters most is enjoying the journey and growing along the way. Now, onto what I read in March. So I started with The Viscount Who Loved Me, and that is the second book in the Bridgerton series. I started this series because I wanted to compare in a video the books from the TV show. I gave The Viscount Who Loved Me, I give it 4 stars because I really enjoyed the story, and I could bump it up to 5 stars. It's just I'm not the biggest fan of Enemies to Lovers. I do not enjoy it as much, but I did love it here. There perhaps was a scene of him kicking her under the desk when I said, ooh, what is that? What is that? What was that? Yeah, I love Regency. I think Regency romance is underrated, and not many people read it. I think a lot of people love romantasy and all that good stuff, but Regency eats down too for me because it is Regency. Like, there are not a lot of spice in there, which I don't read. I skip over. So I enjoyed The Viscount Who Loved Me. I usually read on my phone or my iPad, so I think I would definitely get a trophy book of The Viscount Who Loved Me. Definitely. Next, I read The Neighbor Favor, and oh my gosh, 5 stars, number 1. I loved Christina Forrest, you legend, you absolute genius. I thought it was really fun and different from things I've read before. I think what made this book different for me, because I wasn't really enjoying romance as much since I read a few, I don't know if I read a few bad ones or I just wasn't in the mood for it, but The Neighbor Favor and The Viscount Who Loved Me truly restored my faith in the romance genre. The Neighbor Favor was an absolutely fun read, and I didn't understand why it wasn't the average rating isn't higher on Goodreads, because I felt like it had so much substance. And maybe because romance, even though it was a romance book, did it kind of feel like a subplot a little bit, because I felt like I was so invested in the journeys of Nick and Lily that I just completely forgot that I was rooting for them, but I completely forgot like they were supposed to be falling in love. Like I was like, Lily, your job, like, girl, quit, like, tell your family to leave you alone, like that kind of thing. I was really invested into their personal stories, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much and rated it so high. I think I enjoy romance more now as a subplot more than I do as the main event. Next, I read The Inheritance Games, and I'm not gonna say much here because at first I really enjoyed the book. I rated it 4 stars at first, and then I brought it back down to a 3 because at first it was like really fun, and then as it went on I couldn't relate to the characters, and I just thought it was just the same thing over and over. It's like, okay, find new riddle, find new puzzle, figure it out, be ominous. Like, what is this mystery? These boys are not mysterious to me, they're annoying. So I think that's why I didn't like it, and I just wasn't connecting to the characters. So I rated it 3 stars, and it wasn't really it didn't feel special. It was just a good book. It was like, okay, good, cool. Next, I read Misery by Stephen King, and oh my days, I loved how it was written. Stephen King's prose is out of this world, and I thought it was amazing. However, as I said in my TikTok clip, I didn't appreciate the use of the N-word here. Like, I felt like he just set up this black character just for him to be able to use it at least once in his book. And I'm gonna leave the MLK thing to the side. I'm not MLK here. I'm going straight to Malcolm X, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm gonna say right now, I do not think that I think that we should not ask white authors to include black characters in their book anymore. I just don't appreciate when authors use a black character just to use a slur for them. Like, I don't understand. And also, the character who used it, Annie, did not feel like a character that would use that. She doesn't even curse, or maybe he wanted to say, oh, Annie, this character Annie doesn't curse, but she still finds it in herself to be racist. Like, okay, cool, but there were no other black characters. Like, the whole book, there were no black characters, so it just felt like this random, like, here's a black character, use the N-word, quick, so we can show how bad you are. It feels like a cop-out because she's already bad. At this point, I think did she cut off his leg already? I don't remember, but she was already doing atrocious things to this man. She didn't have to be racist to, like, further the point. We got it. I just didn't enjoy that, and it took me out of the book, so I rated it 4 stars when it originally felt like such a 5-star read to me. Like, I was turning them pages. I really enjoyed it. I just wish he didn't do that. That's it. I just wish he didn't do that. So that is my review and my takeaway and all that good stuff. So I'll see you guys tomorrow or maybe next year. But come back over and come hang out again, please come back. So please, begging you to subscribe, and like, please. I'll see you guys in my next video. So I won't go till I say so. Maybe next year, just know.